Welcome everyone to the second episode of the Ninja Podcast. Today I'm here with a different co-host this time. We got Mike Vasquez. Welcome, Mike.
Hey there, glad to be here.
So this week we're going to be discussing three topics. The first one is going to be the conclusion of Vegas. The second topic is going to be a preview of the Bucket of Chalk competition coming up on October 1st and 2nd. And then the third topic is going to be another preview of the Ninja Sports Championship second season. So just getting into Vegas, what were your general thoughts on it, Mike?
It's something I will say about Vegas. Uh, it is I feel like it had so much content that could have offered. It's just that I think the fact that it was 3 episodes of Vegas that is what forced it to have the G-Force Sasuke 2 levels of pacing.
So basically, like the point you were trying to get across with that by referring to Sasuke 2 levels of pacing is that you didn't really feel like they had too much.
The
Did they not like
G-Force
have too
podcast.
much time?
Yeah, but I'm more so thinking the G4 broadcast of Sasuke 2 specifically.
Ah, okay, that makes better sense. Do you feel like A&W would have done better specifically with Vegas? Like not just in ratings, but just in what people would have thought of it if it had been split up into 4 episodes. Because one thing that I noticed was that I believe um 7 of the top 8 runs on stage one were completely digested. So like they were fast forwarded, and I'm not really sure that that's like the best scenario that like A&W should be finding itself in. I'm going to quickly fact check that to make sure that that's right. So yeah, it was the top 6, which was Ethan Swanson, Kyle Soderman, James Sandella, Evan Andrews, Jeremiah Boyd, Josiah Papel, and then Caden Lebsack was also digested. That's a fast forward for those of you who don't know that. And then Josh Levin was the only one in the top 9 who was fully shown. So that's a problem. That can't be happening. Like that's
Well,
just insane.
uh, I mean, I I feel like that I feel like in uh, 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 I feel like if they were going to do to execute the editing decisions that ended up but coming to fruition, is that I feel like if they were gonna do that, and they should have at bare minimum uh, provided a Sasuke 35 to current esque directors cut uh, of the episodes that they put on air. Uh, uh, because uh, uh, because it would have provided a great way, especially with AW Nation ceasing to exist. It would have been a great opportunity to uh, find to give a compromise uh, to to in, in to give people, or I guess give people an alternative. Uh,
Like make it
uh,
easier for people to find like the results of everything that happened versus like just making it hard and leaving most people in the dark for that information. Cuz
yeah,
it was
basically.
exponentially harder this season for anybody to like get the cut runs. Like I basically had to rely off of like word of mouth and people posting on Instagram. And not every ninja that made it to Vegas has like an Instagram, I think. There's like probably one or two that don't have an Instagram, and like if they're all cut, then like how are you gonna find that out? Like how do you know how they did? Like that's
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
weird.
Yeah.
Like I mean, going through again, like some of these decisions are like, well, you're cutting out Kevin Carbone out of the broadcast, and you're cutting out Isabella Adkins when like you've given them time in the past to like flesh out their story. You cut out Dave Kavanaugh, Cal Plahoros, Hunter Gerard. You digested Jamie Ron. Um, it's just some of these decisions, like I can't wrap my head around that. Like some of those decisions are not really that good. So this is hard to wrap my head around, like why they made some of the choices that they did. It's whack.
Yeah, that is kind of weird.
But moving on to the obstacles specifically, were there any obstacles that you felt antiquated themselves well on the stage, or any obstacles that like felt out of place or just weren't good obstacles in general?
I mean, hey, I, for a lot of the part, for the most part, treat all obstacles equally. But one thing I was really concerned about at first when I heard about it was Hornets nest in stage two, which was basically Beehive Valley. Hey,
Well,
but
is that really like that bad of a thing? Like I speak for most people, and like I have tried attempting like wing nuts before, and like it's actually really fun. Like I'm not saying that like an obstacle of like that difficulty of that difficult. Jeez, I'm not saying that an obstacle of like that difficulty should like always be in the course, but like it's nice to have that in there. I'm not saying that like it was like the best decision, but like if I want to do that, like I didn't really have a problem with it.
well, I guess what I'm trying to say is that I was really concerned when I heard about Hornet's Nest in Stage 2, that we just have a complete wipeout a la A&W 9 and 10, but thankfully the Ninja showed that they've learned from their mistakes since then, and thankfully we did see, I believe, 12 people who actually beat Hornet's Nest,
Yeah,
which is
to elaborate on your point, 17 ninjas made it through to Hornet's Nest, and 12 of them defeated it. The ones who didn't were Ethan Swanson, Evan Andrews, Kyle Soderman, Lucas Reale, and Owen Dyer. So I feel like in terms of the difficulty, things were probably pretty balanced this year in terms of like normal ninja. I would have liked to see more people failing on the second obstacle, and I didn't really like Three Ring Circus. Slide Surfer is just like a basic first obstacle, in my opinion. Giant Roller Coaster. I said this back when I used to run my blog. Um, I just thought that the obstacle was always like super janky and like just wasn't as fluid as Double Dipper. And my thoughts on it still stand. Jumping Spider is still as difficult as ever. I'm not sure like if it's still made for ninja, right? If it's still made for ninja, but at the same time, like it's an iconic obstacle. It's one of the most iconic, so I'm not sure that like you can cut it out and like an obstacle there would have the same sort of impact. Tetherball, I didn't really like it. Warped Law, it's always going to be there, so not much to say on that end. Um, hmm. Dipping Birds was okay. Not really much to say on that end, and I really like the split decision that they made when they introduced fly hooks on the high road. I'd still like to see the high road, but I would like to see them make the hold a little bit tougher to make it not just about like the timing aspect, but also make it like you've got a tougher hold to hang on to. It's like, let's say maybe making it like a nunchuck instead of a ring. Like I feel like that would make it a lot harder, like not just to time it right, but also to be able to hang on and like make it through the obstacle. Even if you covered it in grip tape, I still think that would be like a good idea just to make it like you have less surface area to grip on. It makes it a lot easier to like have more fails there.
Uh,
But moving on to stage two, moving on to stage two specifically, other than Hornet's Nest, what obstacles did you like or not like or were worried about?
I mean, uh, 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 I mean, uh, uh, outside of that, I think the other new obstacle to stage two, piston plunge, would have been pretty difficult due to how relatively difficult it was back in qualifying. But I guess what I failed to realize it was that this was a giga nerfed version uh, where you could actually static a number of the pistons. So I at least glad that it wouldn't it didn't end up being as difficult as say the AW3 Venice version of the unstable bridge.
Man, I hated that unstable bridge, to be honest. For those of you who don't know the story behind it, basically, in season three in the semifinals, the unstable bridge was the obstacle directly following the salmon ladder. And in Venice Beach that day, the winds were really, really picking up. And for some reason, people there decided, hey, let's hold up the unstable bridge with just a bunch of bungee cords and see how well that works. Yeah, like 14 people made it to the unstable bridge and one person beat it. I think that tells you all you need to know about American Ninja Warrior 3 semifinals. In an unrelated story, AW3 semifinals and AW3 as a whole is still a pretty good episode, and I love AW3, and it's probably my favorite season. Don't sue me.
I mean, I don't blame you.
I mean, AW3 is like a work of art. Like I can just like go watch it back, and like I'll always love it. Like it's awesome. Getting into my thoughts on stage two. Striding steps, like I sort of like having a step obstacle to begin stage two and then having that go straight into the salmon ladder. But I'm not sure that like it was worth sacrificing like having a different stage start. Cause I remember somebody on one of the Ninja Discords, I think it might have been Alex Cunningham's, that they they didn't really like how the stage platform that they were starting on, which used to be elevated and like you'd climb up to get there and then slide down to start the salmon ladder. I didn't really like the whole aspect of why they got rid of that. Like I didn't really like that whole aspect of how they got rid of that. And but striding steps in itself is like it's a decent obstacle. No real problems with it. Like they can do what they want on that end. Like whatever. Not the biggest deal in the world if like you remove the starting platform. I like it as an obstacle. Piston plunge. I'm just skipping the same letter because nobody failed it. Honestly, I think that you need to have something more difficult. If you made it more of the open cradles and like maybe like made it some more of like a sky bar aspect, like I feel like that would have been working well. In terms of piston plunge specifically, agreeing with what Mike said, I did not really like the static approach of it, but like I'm glad that it didn't take out as many ninjas as it did. But yeah, I don't really have much to say about piston plunge. Like the fact that you just because static is not like the end of the world. Like I didn't really care. about the obstacle in the first place. Like it was like an 8 out of 10 obstacle, and now it's just like a 7, maybe a 6.5. Moving on to the fourth obstacle, hammer drop. Not really much thoughts. I feel like it's very similar to swing surfer, but I didn't really like swing surfer all that much. I didn't hate it, but it was just like sort of middle of the road obstacle, and this is the same for hammer drop. I really liked Hornet's Nest. I feel like most of that came from how much I enjoyed the beehive obstacle. Um, I would have liked to see some farther laches, but I'm not sure if that would have made the stage a little bit harder. And to end off stage two, I really like falling shelves. But just to end off stage two, Mike, did you feel like the difficulty level was good as a whole? Okay. So Mike, what were your thoughts on stage two as a whole in terms of like the time limit and then how the course worked as a whole?
Uh, well, uh, 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 well, I mean the time limit was 4 minutes, which honestly gave me flashbacks to season 9, in which I had a 4 minute time limit. Uh, but I mean, uh, then again, with the most A&W stage twos, the time limit didn't really play too much of a factor. In fact, Matt D'Amico, I presume due to the 4 minute time limit, ended up breaking Daniel Gill's speed record for most amount of time remaining on the clock on stage two.
Yeah, I'd personally agree that the time limit didn't play really that big of a factor, except for maybe one or two runs, which would be Josh Levin and like Flip Rodriguez. Like they were the only ones that like really were in danger of timing out because Nate Hansen and Cam Baumgartner also had the klaxon come on, but they were pretty good, so they would have cleared regardless. But I don't know. I feel like stage two needs to make it a little bit more about, hey, we can get people to time out more. Like a race against the clock is like what I feel American Ninja Warrior could be marketing himself as better, and like I'd like to see itself do it not just with stage two, but also stage one. Like it did very well with stage four, as we'll get to, but I feel like it can be just orchestrating that well everywhere. But just moving on to stage three, Mike, what were your thoughts on it?
I mean, uh, 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 it was very similar to last year. The only opticals that were changed were Patriot Pass replacing Grip and Tip and Chop It Up, but replacing Up for Grabs. Um, but I mean, uh, uh, I I I I was honestly really surprised of how a few people failed on the first half of the stage. But I mean, I, 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 I feel like that might be attributed to the course being very similar to last year, and B, how they haven't really changed the cliffhanger since it received the version it got today in season 11.
Yeah, personally, I thought that back in season 11, there were a lot of people who made it past the first half. But in this, like, you had only three people, actually, only two people that failed to make it through the ultimate cliffhanger, that being Flip Rodriguez and Max Feinberg.
Yeah, I
Like,
was just about to mention that.
the difficulty level on the first half of the course needs to be ramped up. Like, the second half's difficulty was okay. It could have been better. Like, I feel like we could have gone with three stage three clears instead of five. Like, that's a little bit too much. But, like, again, not the end of the world.
But I mean, uh, given how there were five clears on the stage, which equals Sasuke 3 and 24, uh, I was honestly expecting at least some editing to come into effect on to one of those five runs on stage 3, uh, but surprisingly, that didn't end up really being the case. Uh, so that's one thing that honestly shocked me.
Honestly, I'd also agree that that was a good thing. Only three ninjas on entire stage three were either mid cut or digested. Matty and Miko and Cam Baumgartner were both mid cut, and then Ethan Bartnicki was fast forwarded. I feel like that was pretty good, probably like a 7 out of 10 on editing choices for that stage. And also, they finally showed Max Feinberg in full for like the first time this season, which long time coming when he's like one of your top 15 best ninjas, and like you basically fast forwarded him for like 5 runs in a row. Like, give him some recognition, people. He's like one of the top ninjas out there, and like he's getting fast forwarded every run. Like, I just have a problem with that, and like I'm glad that he finally got like a full run and got like a super big focus too. Like, I feel like that's gonna do a really good thing, like for his maxing cause, and like the stuff that he's trying to do with raising awareness for breast cancer. Like, that's good, you know.
Yeah,
Getting back on topic to stage three. What obstacles do you feel antiquated themselves well, and what obstacles do you feel just flopped?
I mean, I feel like one obstacle that definitely had a lot of effect compared to other obstacles was Pipe Dream. Mainly, the uh, 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 and because I feel like well, not because I feel like I, I'm pretty sure him, Pipe Dream was the one optical that took out the most people on stage 3. Hey, but outside of that, I don't know that there's really much I can say. Given how it chop it up, ultimate cliffhanger, Eyeglass Alley and Flying Bar only took out one competitor a piece.
Yeah, I'd honestly agree. It didn't really feel like stage three really showed the difficulty level that it had in years past, which is, I guess, not really that surprising when you only had two obstacle swaps, and a couple of the people there had already attempted the stage the year before. Actually, now that I think about it, the only one out of the four that made it to stage three last year was Caden, and nobody else from that stage three group made it there this year. Because Austin Gray and Vance Walker failed on stage one, and then Kyle Serdeman failed on stage two. But then again, Caden cleared with like the fastest time with more than a minute left over Jay Lewis. So, like, obviously, I think that he had an advantage up on everybody else going into the stage. But at the same time, everybody has like extra time to get used to the course in this specific case because almost nothing changed.
Yeah, and I uh, one that uh, uh, and what I feel like was special about Kane's campaign in Vegas this year is, is that he was the first ninja in American Ninja Warrior history to clear a Vegas final obstacle following an attempt at the final stage. And he ended up uh, having as great as a run as he had, and, which saw him join J.O. Lewis, Josh Levin, R.J. Roman, and Josiah Papel on the final stage.
Like honestly, Caden made that thing look like an absolute master class of a run. Like you want to pick holes in this run? There's not much holes to pick. Like he absolutely destroyed it. Like honestly, like it was really, really good. Like I'm not really sure that there is much that could have been done to like make that run even better, which is like a really good thing. Moving on to stage 4. Um, what were your thoughts specifically just on stage 4? Do you feel like it was a little bit too difficult or not difficult enough?
Uh, I mean, I think that might be because it was it was because it was not the same version of stage four that we were used to seeing, but more so the stage four that was used that was going to be used back in seasons 4, 5, and 6. Uh, in which competitors got no pull from the rope riggers and actually had a time limit that was tested at 40 seconds. Except the only issue here is that the time limit was 30.
Like I feel like the best scenario would have been if the time limit was 35 seconds or even 33 seconds like it actually was in season 11. I feel like that probably would have been a better fix. Because if you think about it, there's probably like 2 or 3 seconds that these ninjas can gain from these times, and that would like put them close to 33. Maybe not right. Maybe not right at 33, but like close enough to where you could say, okay, it's actually pretty likely that they could get total victory.